Okay, let's be real for a second. Think about your morning scroll today. You're lying in bed, thumbing through your feed, and in the span of 30 seconds, you see a 4K video of a building collapsing in a war zone, followed immediately by a bubbly influencer showing you a 3-step skincare routine for glass skin, followed by a meme about a cat that looks like a loaf of bread. Did you notice what happened in your brain? Probably nothing. And that's the terrifying part. Your brain didn't even flinch. It treated the tragedy, the moisturizer, and the cat as exactly the same thing. Content. This is the glitch in the machine. The blue light is hitting your retinas. Your brain is firing off signals, but none of them are actually connecting to anything real. It's like eating a meal made of air. You're consuming, but you're still starving for something substantial. We've been told that staying informed is a virtue, that being aware of global suffering makes us compassionate modern citizens. But I'm going to level with you. When I started digging into the philosophy behind this, I realized we've been sold a massive lie. Your brain isn't actually processing that tragedy, it's farming it for a quick hit of moral righteousness before moving on to the next dopamine trigger. We feel like we're engaging with the world, but we're actually just staring at a glass wall. And the more we stare, the less we feel. Your brain isn't broken, guys, it's being harvested, and today we're going to figure out how to take it back. To understand why we've become so numb, we have to talk about a guy named Guy Debord. Back in 1967, long before the first iPhone, he wrote this mind-bending book called The Society of the Spectacle. Now, Debord wasn't just some grumpy academic, he was a revolutionary who saw the future coming. He argued that in modern society, life is no longer about being or even having, it's about appearing. He called this the spectacle. Think of the spectacle as a giant 24/7 museum where everything real has been replaced by an image. Think about the last time you went to a nice restaurant. Did you taste the food first, or did you capture it? If it didn't make it to the grid, did the meal even happen? That's the spectacle in a nutshell. It's a loop where we trade our lived experiences for digital receipts. In 2026, this isn't just a theory, it's our user interface. We don't really have neighbors anymore, we have profiles. We don't go to concerts to hear music, we go to represent the fact that we were there on our stories. Debord's ghost is basically screaming at us through our notifications. He'd say that the algorithm is the ultimate director of the spectacle. It decides which global tragedy gets a season renewal based on how many shares it generates. We think we're connected to the world. But Debord would tell us we're living in a mirror world where the image of the thing is more important than the thing itself. We've turned our social relationships into a collection of curated exhibits. It's like we're all actors in a play where the script is written by a machine that only cares about our engagement time. It's cynical, it's brilliant, and it's exactly where we are right now. Here's where things get really uncomfortable. Enter Susan Sontag. In her final book regarding the pain of others, she dropped a truth bomb that honestly made me put the book down and just stare at a wall for an hour. She argued that constant exposure to distant suffering doesn't actually make us more compassionate. It acts as a sophisticated anesthetic. Sontag called it the voyeurism of suffering. We've turned the most horrific moments of human history into a scrolling gallery. It's that we're seeing it through a filter of comfort. Your couch is soft, your coffee is warm, and the war is happening in 4K on a device that also plays Candy Crush. That contrast is what kills the empathy. When we see 4K footage of a catastrophe on our high-res screens, it looks good. It's aestheticized. It becomes content. And when we hit that share button or post a pastel-colored infographic, something weird happens in our biology. Our brain releases the moral tension. We feel like we've done something, so we get a little hit of moral self-satisfaction. Sontag's point is that this pity is like an expiring coupon. If you don't use it to help someone in the real world immediately, it turns into a cynical boredom. You see a headline about a famine, you feel a 3-second surge of, "Oh, that's terrible," and then you swipe to see what your friend had for lunch. That awareness isn't a bridge to action. It's an off switch for your actual moral responsibility. We're becoming spectators of pain, consuming it like a seasonal drama on Netflix. Sontag is basically calling us out. Are you actually sad, or are you just entertained by the gravity of the situation? It's a brutal question, but it's the only one that matters if we want to stay human. Okay, so we're all accidental voyeurs in a digital museum of misery. Great. Now what? How do we actually fix this? This is the part that blew my mind because the answer isn't more awareness, it's actually a biological reset. We need what I call the one-to-one rule. It's simple, but it's hard. For every hour you spend consuming the global spectacle, the news, the doom scrolling, the infographics, you have to spend 1 full hour performing a local tangible act of service. I'm talking about stuff that requires your hands, not your thumbs. Pulling weeds, checking on that neighbor you haven't spoken to in 6 months, volunteering at a kitchen, or even just fixing something that's broken in your own house. Why? Because science shows us something called the identifiable victim effect. Our biological empathy is hardwired for the people we can actually see and touch. When you pull a weed or paint a wall, your brain gets a different kind of feedback: haptic, messy, slow. It's the antidote to the instant nature of the spectacle. You can't swipe a garden into existence, you have to be there. Chronic compassion fatigue actually shrinks the part of your brain, the amygdala, that responds to real-world pain. To fix it, you have to recalibrate. Start with a 48-hour digital fast once a month. Delete the news aggregators. Turn off the notifications. Force your brain to realize that the person living 3 feet away from you is more real than the 10 million pixels on your screen. We need to move from the glass loop back into the human loop. It's about deciding whether you want to be a user in a system designed to keep you scrolling, or a human in a world that desperately needs you to move your feet. So here's the final takeaway, the one I want you to carry with you next time you feel that urge to swipe. There is a massive difference between being a spectator and being a witness. A spectator watches for the story, for the thrill, for the feeling of being in the know. They watch until they get bored, and then they find a new show. But a witness watches because they are ready to testify. They watch because they are ready to act. They don't just consume the image, they carry the weight of it into their physical lives. The world doesn't need more informed people who are paralyzed by their screens. It needs people who are awake to the reality of their own streets. Don't let the algorithm curate your soul. Next time a tragedy pops up on your screen, don't just share it. Ask yourself, am I consuming this, or is it consuming me? If you aren't prepared to do something tangible, even something small and local, then your awareness is just a form of entertainment. It's harsh, I know. But the only empathy that actually survives the screen is the one that moves your hands. Stop witnessing the world through a glass screen and start living in the one right in front of you. The spectacle wants your attention. The world wants your presence. Choose wisely. I'm going to leave you with 10 seconds of silence. No music, no talking, just look at the room you're in. Notice the light, the dust, the sounds. That's the real world. That's where you're needed. See you out there.